Hello, gentlemen. It's the commissar again, and I just wanted to go over a little bit more in depth the topics a little topic I talked about before when I got into the automobile uh, industry and how crappy those vehicles are. And I was wondering if it was just me or a lot of you Gen Xers out there um, remember a time when things were not only simpler, but they were more reliable and they worked better. And I see this all the time. I'm in the boat industry and I work on inboard engines and stern drives, going all the way back to the 1980s kind of stuff. And I look at the new stuff that's going on since I've had this history since then of seeing how the systems have been improved and in some areas where it's kind of where they've regressed. And I see this a lot with the cars as well as the boats. And when I try to talk to people, it seems like they've forgotten how things used to be and how simpler and better they were. And they're getting all caught up in this hype about what I would call all flash and no dash, or fashion over function. And you see this on new cars all the time, and it's kind of become like a joke where they got the fake vents on the side of the car, like on the like Buick LaCrosse. What they're there for, I have no idea. They don't do anything. Same thing with these fake exhaust pipes that they got, that where they got a back of a car and it looks like they got dual exhaust, and there's nothing there. It's just a plastic piece. And how everything has become cheap and modular, and you can't even replace a simple light anymore. And because it comes as a whole assembly. Like if your light goes bad, you got to go buy a whole light assembly, and that never used to be the case. And it used to be very inexpensive and easy to fix for the average person. Like, take for instance, when I was in college, my second year in college, I had a 1988 Dodge Shadow, little four-cylinder with automatic transmission, and I got it at an auto auction in Maryland. I even went to an auction. One was open to the public. You could still go and get it. I got this car in 1991. It was 3 years old at the time. And I would drive that car from Maryland to my college in New England, like 10 to 12 hour drive. Snow, sleet, rain, summer, you name it. Never had a problem driving in the snow, never had a problem with any kind of losing control or any issues with it. Never had mechanical problems. I just changed the oil and the tires in this car and the air filter. And that's all I really did for this thing for the 3 years I was in school. And I did trips to Canada in the winter. I went to Denver and back in this car. And no matter where I drove this car, I never had any worry that it was going to break down on me or I was going to have some kind of a issue that I was going to get stuck. Now, of course, things happen, and I'm not saying that the car was perfect by any means. And of course, it didn't have some of the amenities that we have today. But for someone going to school, a younger person, this car was fantastic. It was easy to operate. It was cheap. Didn't have all the bells and whistles on it. You could fix it yourself. Parts were around, so it wasn't like you had to get specialty stuff. And it was a great starter car. Insurance was cheap. It was back in the days where teenagers could afford cars and drive them and tinker them, do the basics on them that you had to do. You can't do that with these cars now. I mean, it's gotten so ridiculous on the maintenance you can't do on them that I don't understand why anyone would want to own these. And it holds true like in the boating era. If you look back to the old go fast boats, cigarette boats, formulas, Bajas, Wellcrafts back in the 90s, you had the big block motor carbureted with a electronic advance in the distributor and a carburetor. That's all you needed, and you could build a motor to get good power and still get 75 mile an hour out of these boats, and reliability was high because you didn't have a lot of components. And especially in a marine environment, the less electric components you have, the better. Down here, especially in Florida, you're dealing with salt, you're dealing with humidity, you're dealing in an environment that electronic components don't fare very well. And as these motors I've seen get more and more advanced, they have more and more problems. It used to be where the marine business was 10 to 15 years behind the automotive. So you really weren't worrying about anything as far as stern drive was coming, as far as the inboard outboard, where they were coming along with all these innovations and hassles. But now they've gone complete ridiculous car stuff on them all. You got catalytic converters, you got oxygen sensors, you got mufflers, you got all these electronic components on these inboard motors, which if you have a problem, you got to tear half the motor apart just to service the thing, just to fix it. And if you get any kind of issue with it, these people don't fix them no more. The dealerships don't fix them no more. Secondhand shops don't want to fix them no more. Oh, you got to replace the engine. Oh, okay. That'll cost you about 15 grand, and that's even if you go ahead and take the parts off of the old motor, the brackets, the pumps, fuel injection system, and you put it back on this engine. So it just creates such a drastic cost to operate these things that boats now, forget it. They're out of the realm of the average weekend warrior here that wants to have a boat to go out in the Gulf, maybe do a little fishing, take his family out. That's over. That's gone. It's like cars now. You gotta be making six figures just to buy a shit box, and that's why my business has decreased so far, because people buy boats on Facebook. They don't go to a dealer to buy these usually, and they think they get this great deal. They never have it inspected. And then after they get it, it won't run, it won't shift, it's taking water, it's got overheating problems, it's a drive's making noise, or the drive not running at all. And they'll get a hold of me after going through maybe 1, 2, or 3 other people that don't know what they're doing. And I'll come and give an honest assessment of what's going on with this boat and the amount of work that they're going to need, even at less than dealership rates. And it's too expensive for them to fix. They buy these boats for 4 or 5 grand, and then they find out that they got to put 5, 6, 7, 8 grand into them just to get them to where they could be somewhat reliable. So now they're up to $12,000, $13,000. Well, they could have bought a nicer boat to begin with, but they didn't want to spend the money. So they usually don't fix it. Or you'll get halfway through a job with somebody and they'll finding out that they needed more than just drive service or transom service or engine service. And then the bill snowballs, and then halfway through a job, they'll be like, I don't want to finish it, or I can't pay for it. And then, you get stuck, with some of your labor hanging out there because, you told them this was going to get into this and they tell you to do it. But then when reality finally hits, they don't want to pay for it. And I see guys with cars in the automotive secondhand shops having this problem. They have a customer that needs a transmission fixed or needs a reman transmission put in, and they'll okay the job, they'll put it in, and then the person doesn't have the money and they got to wind up putting a lien on the car and having it sitting on their lot until they could resell it to get their money back. But in those earlier time, from say 90s up to the early 2000s, the reliable systems were there, especially for Volvo. They made a great drive that worked great, easy to maintain, great parts. As long as you serviced it, put 5 minutes worth of effort into it, you could usually keep it going for a while without any major problems. Engines were easy to get. They were just your cast iron Chevy motors. Pretty much, they used to be dime a dozen as far as getting another motor. And it would be affordable. You could fix it. You could replace the motor. You could have the drive redone, gone through and redone, and the transom assembly, and it was fairly reasonable. Now, forget it. The parts have gone up so much just in the last 5 years, and the amount of money people have has decreased so much in the last 5 years. Shops like me, we're running at this impasse where cost is skyrocketing, but the available money that people have is at an all-time low. So you're seeing people just not fix these boats or sell them and blow them out and just get rid of them, maybe to somebody else that can fix them because they don't have the money. And that's what's happened in my business. It's taken a nosedive because people can't afford boats no more. The ultra wealthy can. And as you see, there's this big shift, just like in automotive, going to modular and all this fuel injection and all these computers, to doing the same thing in the marine world. Okay, they're building piles of crap boats with these outboard motors on them, and the fiberglass isn't even finished properly. You can see where the gel coat was done poorly. The fit and finish is terrible. They don't route the lines where they're supposed to anymore. They don't secure them. They just got them hanging in there, the hoses and the cables. And they're not even using shrink wrap butt connectors. And the wiring looks like it was done by a fifth grader. And they want big money for these new boats. And the fiberglass is like this thick. When the transom assemblies, if you look at the old 90s boats, transom assemblies were thick. I mean, you'd have to take a lot to rot those out. They could last for a long time. Now they're paper thin. Everything's getting cheesier and cheesier. Even the upholstery, the material for the upholstery, it's just this like half-assed Chinese knockoff stuff that they're trying to market as like OEM factory parts. And you can tell the metallurgy is different, the plastic's different, the components are different. Everything is so cheap, but it looks cool for 10 minutes. And this is what people fall for. This is the all flash, no dash, because when you really start looking at it, you get somebody that knows what they're looking at, somebody that's been around the block a little bit that can examine this stuff and go look at this. You'll find so many problems with the boat sitting in the showroom floor, the car sitting in the showroom floor. You'd be like, really? That this is what they're putting out? This is what they're expecting people to dish out big money for? This crap? I mean, everything's plastic. Everything's just the cheapest of the cheapest that they can do. And I don't know. It's like people are in this Stockholm syndrome, this mass. They've fallen in love with their captors. A lot of people know this stuff is garbage. You can go on the internet in 10 minutes and look up the reviews on 90% of the cars that are crap. But yet you see people driving them and buying these new cars, especially these EVs. Oh my God, these EVs are such piles of crap. I don't know what people are thinking buying these things. Okay? Your worst nightmare on a car as Jaguar and Land Rover and Maserati or any of these cars is the electrical system. Once you have ghosts in the electrical system, it becomes a nightmare trying to chase them down and find out where they're at. So instead of reducing the number of places you could have electrical problems, let's just make everything the electrical problem. What? An all-electric car, you got the displays going out in them right off the bat. You got the batteries having problems right out the bat. The drive motor's going up right after the bat. The lighting system's going. I mean, these things are so fraught with mechanical glitches. They spend more time at the dealership than they do in your driveway. And then you got to find these charging stations that you can charge into, and then the payment system to go through the charging system, and how long it's going to take to charge your car, and how long in line you are in charge with these cars. See, they sold these people this propaganda. And they pulled at their heartstrings about saving the environment or something, which I don't know why anybody thinks these cars are saving anybody anything. They're not. They have a ton of hazardous materials on them. Just stay away from one of these things when they decide to cook off. Okay? Yeah, it's nasty. And I don't know how people have bought into this. I don't know how they've gotten to an age over 30 years old and haven't realized that just about everything everybody tells them is a shuck and jive. And yet they keep falling for it. And they keep trying to think that if they run up quick enough, they'll be able to kick the football before Lucy pulls it away. She's going to keep it there this time, and I'm going to be able to kick it. And no matter how many times she pulls it away and people bust their ass, they still keep, oh, no, this time's different. This time's different. Meanwhile, cars are undrivable. Appliances, they break down so quick. Your washers, your dryers, your dishwashers, and your stoves. It's ridiculous. Your grandmother's stove from 1950 or her refrigerator is probably still running now, today. Then these brand new, overpriced $1,000, $2,000. You want some sticker shock? Go to the Home Depot or Lowe's and look at appliances. Seriously, I'm like $2,000 for a washer and dryer. What the hell is in this thing? They're so flimsy. The damn thing's rickety. As soon as you put it on the dolly to lift it, you're afraid you're gonna break something before you even get it home. It's just this is what happens at the end of, say, empire, and your currency has been devalued so much that everything is going cheap and for megabucks, and people still continue to buy this stuff. You got to stop buying this stuff. These homes, don't buy these homes, especially. There are so many things wrong with these homes. There's got to be a lot of bribery going on between the builder and the contractors and the county inspectors. And it's just atrocious what they pass off as homes when you look at these things. It's poor. I mean, anybody that has any kind of sense of craftsmanship or wouldn't touch these things. It's like when people ask me when I'm doing the marine work, I want to go buy a Chinese stern drive. They give me a 3-year unlimited warranty. Yeah, okay, because the one they give you under warranty is the same pile of crap that you bought from them. So as long as they're selling more of them than they're taking back, they're making money off of these things. and they're garbage. They're unserviceable. You can't service them. It's a disposable drive. It's like something you buy from Walmart. You can't fix it. Once it goes out of the warranty and you have a problem, you have a whole another unit again. And as soon as somebody that wants to buy your boat sees that you went the Chinese route on this cheap drive, they're going to be like, man, what else did this guy buy cheap on this thing that he's just trying to pawn off on me? And the resale value just plummets to almost nothing. Because that's the signal it tells everybody, is that if you're too lazy to even have a factory unit on here, which you can still get, I can still do a lot of factory units and redo them for as much as it would pay for these Chinese drives. But people don't want to do it for some reason. I mean, they've been sold on this, these cons. They don't look at all the details. The devil's in the details, and they never bother to read it or look into it. And they wind up regretting it. But it pushes guys like me out of business because I won't work on them. I won't sell them. I won't recommend them to people because I know that they're garbage, And that's the whole thing with the newer boats. Everything's going to digital, digital steering, digital throttle and shift. And it's causing major problems because like I told you, the last place you want to have electrical components is around water, especially salt water. It doesn't mix. Salt water gets in everything. It corrodes everything. It breaks everything down. And, you got Mercury selling the electric steering now. Oh, well, you don't need a steering cable to run back to your motors to turn them. It's just fancy steering and it's easy. And yeah, until the servo or you have a problem in the electric steering, then you can't use your boat. Can't steer it. Can't turn it. So you got to wait until you get this part or it gets diagnosed by the dealership to find out what component they're going to overcharge you for to even get your boat to turn. I know a customer guy, he bought a 6-figure boat, had that problem. Couldn't take his boat out until they found out what was going on with his electric steering. And that doesn't even get into all the issues that you have with the engines and all the other components in these boats that they're just cranking out just like the cars and putting these big price tags on them and wondering why they have to continually go back to the dealership even after the warranty period because the secondhand shops don't get the software. That we can't afford the software and all the tools that you need to fool around with these things. So you're funneled. You're forced to go back to that dealership to work on your boat, and you're not going to get a deal, and you may not even get it fixed because you'll go in there and you'll get it with the same problem that you brought it in with, and they'll tell you it's fixed, get you out the door. You'll go run the boat one time and run into the same problem. Got to take it back, and that's the problem with all these overworked cars, boats. RVs, don't even get me started with them. The nightmare stories about those things. I mean, they're pretty much back to balsa wood and shoe glue, putting these things together. And they're just ripping apart, leaking water, it's a mess. If you ever want to even look at an even bigger nightmare than cars, look at the RVs that they're putting out. Just total bottom of the barrel, just materials and just screwing people left and right out of tens of thousands of dollars and giving them the runaround. And it's everywhere you go. And that's what I've been trying to tell people the last 20 years to avoid. Stick with what you know. Stick with what's reliable. You don't need all the thrills. You don't need all the frills. People don't use 90% of all these electrical gadgets they put in these cars anyway. Is it really going to kill you to roll the window up or pull your lock, or when you take the key out, push the little button down to pull the key out so you don't leave it in the car? I mean, it's like they've tried to over-engineer common sense, and instead they've just made it dumber. And everything I hear is about the safety features in these cars. Oh, for safety. What good is all the safety features if the person driving the car is an abject moron or doesn't know how to drive? I mean, when I was in high school, we had driver's ed. Everybody had to take driver's education, and everybody went to that class. It was part of a graduation. And then you had driver's ed with went out driving with the instructor, and then you went out driving with your parents. How I learned how to get my license on a stick shift manual. I mean, could you see these millennials and Gen Zs and now trying to get their license, trying to use a shifter, a manual transmission? That'd be a TikTok meme for forever. They'd be crashing into everything, stalling the car out, driving into other people. I mean, it's just they're trying to engineer out a common sense, and you can't. I'd take a car from the 1980s, early 90s over one of these new cars any day of the week, and that's the problem. People have lost sight on what actually works, and they've been bamboozled by all this fancy eye candy that's cheap, that just there to catch your attention, to make it look cool, but it doesn't work, you know? And it reminds me of Dick Jones from RoboCop. Yeah, who cares if the damn thing didn't work? We had parts contracts with the government for 10 years. Exactly. These manufacturers don't care that their stuff doesn't work. You go back to the dealer after warranty, or you go to anywhere after the warranty, you got to buy the same part that failed. The same plastic intake, the same plastic thermostat, the same shitty rubber hoses that crack in the car. I mean, what good is the warranty, and what good are the components if they're just garbage? Warranty is only as good as somebody who will stand behind it. Hell, I'm a secondhand shop that did work, and people would say to me, "Oh, well, how do I know you'll live up to the warranty?" And I tell them, if it's something I did, I'll cover it. If it's something I didn't do, that's on you. But if it is me, I'll tell you it's me, because I have pride in my work. Okay, I want to do the best job humanly possible. Part of a craft of actually saying, "Hey, look at this. You got your money's worth. You got value." I had no problem doing that. There are times, a lot of times, where I had to eat crow from a mistake. It's part of mechanicking. Anybody that works on a car or boat will tell you, hey, we're human, we make mistakes. But good luck trying to get that from the dealership. Yeah, go there and try to tell them that something they did caused a problem, that they gotta come up with $2,000 or $3,000 from a lower unit that blew up, or an engine that was their fault. They're gonna fight you till you die, and use every excuse not to uphold the warranty. The car manufacturers do the same thing. It don't matter, even when they know it's a problem and they have recalls out. You get an engine with 300 miles on it with chattering lifters, or a rod slap, or some problem in the motor, and they'll be like, no, we're not covering that. They'll come up with any excuse. And it's the secondhand shop people, whether it's your plumbers or your electricians or your contractors, if they're good, if they got a good reputation, got good customer base, those are the guys you want to use. Okay? Because they're honest. Unfortunately, most of us are damn near gone in a lot of fields, because we've been pushed out by the cheap, quick, fast screw job. You know, people don't want to wait for the job to be done right. They don't want to buy the decent parts that have to be used in some of these components, because you can't afford to go back and do it again. You got to tear everything apart to get back into where this part. You're better off buying the factory part, or the good part for where it's hard to get to, than to be like, oh, I'm going to put that Amazon timing chain kit in my truck. Okay, that's going to last you 10 minutes. Then you're going to have to tear it all back apart again, realizing that part was junk out of the box, and you should have been better off just eating it, sucking it up, and finding a deal on the factory parts, and saving the money on the labor and everything else. Because if that's no good, nothing else is going to work. And trying to explain this to people, for some reason, I don't know why they don't understand it. Okay? They're thinking that this cheap Chinese knockoff parts that cost a fraction of what decent aftermarket or factory parts cost, it's the same thing. I hear that, oh, it's the same thing. Okay, well, go ahead and put it in, and then when it fails or it doesn't work, you go and tear everything apart again, and you go redo it, spend your time. No, see, they want to push that onto somebody else, and then they don't want to pay you for it. Oh, that's under warranty. The labor's under warranty, right? No, I didn't put that part in. You wanted to go cheap. You're going to go cheap. You're going to pay for it twice. And that's things these people keep finding. It's amazing to me how many people can't afford to pay for it to be done right the first time, but they can afford to do it 2 and 3 times. Did you ever notice that? I ask people that. Why are you chinsing out on me trying to fix it right, but you didn't have a problem taking it to the dealership and paying twice the amount to not even have it fixed? And they stand there looking at you stupid, or they want to hassle you the whole time because you brought to light the mistake they made, whether they bought the boat that was screwed up and they didn't see it and they overpaid, or they took it someplace they shouldn't have taken it and gotten screwed. They take it out on the person that's trying to fix their problem. I see it all the time. I don't know what this mentality is. It's, well, I can't go back and say anything to the dealership because they're so big. And I can't say nothing to say the government or the Mercruiser or Ford or GM because they're just such this. But I can go and I can talk shit to the guy that actually knows what he's doing and is fixing my problem and lives right down the street from here or lives in my community. I can go give him a problem because he's the small guy. And if I browbeat him enough and complain enough to him, he'll give me a break on the price. You know, and it forces guys like me out of business because we can't compete with people's screwed up mentality and Chinese slave labor. We can't. And everybody in America that has a decent trade is starting to figure this out too. The small guys are getting eliminated. And then somebody will say to me, oh, I can't find a good boat mechanic. Yeah, I wonder why. Because it's not worth the headache. It's not worth the brain damage. I can't have a conversation with you and tell you what you're going to need, what it's going to cost, without hemming and hawing and crying and asking for deals and saying you can find it cheaper someplace, just causing problems. It's not worth it. And that's where we've gotten in this society, is that it's not worth doing a good job for anyone. I've given up. I don't want to do it no more, because we're the ones that suffer, the people that are the honest ones, okay? And that actually put the time in over the amount of the job to make sure it's done right. I put in so many extra hours on jobs, making sure that I didn't have a comeback, making sure that the customer was taken care of, because his family's going out on this boat out in the Gulf. That's the last place I want them to have a problem or a breakdown, is out there where you just can't pull over and say, oh, I'm gonna get home and get a tow truck, or I'm gonna have. No, you're out there on the water. It's very dangerous. So I want to make sure that when this boat leaves, or this engine goes, it's ran, it's checked for leaks. I do a video of it. It's running good. There's no fuel problems. Everything is running good before it even goes back into the boat, so that they can't come back and say, oh, you put this in knowing that there was a problem here. No, I got the video. Here, I sent you pictures. It's running. Fuel pressure's good. I got a box with a gauge. Coolant's good. Oil pressure's good. Engine's running good. Okay, pull the plugs out. No water in any of the cylinders. No, you can get no water leaks in the manifolds or the intake or anything, or the heads or anything like that. And to do that takes time, but nobody wants to pay for it. They want you to just rush through these jobs, throw it together, and if they have a problem, they'll just complain. They feel better complaining about it than actually saying, hey, this guy did a real good job, and I don't have any issues with it now. It runs good. In over 20 years, I've only had really like 2 people call me up and say, hey, thanks for going the extra mile and building this. Man, I take my family out. The thing runs great. I never could get it to work before. I had to get somebody else to do it, and it never worked right. After you did it, I got no problems. It runs great, and you didn't rake me over the coals. Probably only like 2 in 20 years of customers and selling drives online. Everyone just thinks that this stuff is supposed to be perfect for them at a discount price, and that us guys that actually do this, without the big shop and without the fancy logos and without all the shuck and jive, we're supposed to work for peanuts, But then they want to come to us to bail them out when all the problems have snowballed from the so-called people that know what they're doing. Okay, your dealerships, whether it's car, whether it's boat, whether it's RV, they're just parts replacers. Okay, they're not there to diagnose your problems. Most dealerships, shops don't even take boats that are over 10 years old, because of the corrosion issues and the problems that they're going to have and the abuse they get from the prior owner. And forget stern drive. I mean, you might as well have to have a degree in the dark arts for some reason, because nobody wants to touch them. They're not that complicated. You just spend some time with them and you get good at it. That's all I've done was the stern drive stuff. And you'd be amazed at how many shops turn them away. They only want outboards, because the outboards, you can pull the back off, you can sit there, hook it up to diagnose it, and change a part and make way more money that way than you can actually trying to figure out what's going on with the motor or the drive and pulling it off and check. They don't want nothing to do with it. They turn them away. And that's why they phased them all out. All your boats now, if you see all your Regals, all your Formulas, all your Chris Crafts, any Mercruiser, Sea Rays, they're all coming with outboards. It's basically like a cabin cruiser, but with outboards. And what that does is it drives the cost up through the roof, because these outboard motors are expensive, ridiculously expensive. You can expect to spend $100 per horsepower per new motor. So those 400 horsepower Verados or Suzukis that they're putting on, that's $40,000 just for the engine. Then you got the controls and the labor, the rigging to put it on. So what do you think is going to happen in 5 to 7 years when you're running that all aluminum block and lower unit through salt water and heating it up? What do you think is going to happen? It's going to eat that motor from the inside out. And then you're going to have to get another one, because you won't be able to fix it. You got the money to put these motors on these boats constantly? At least with the stern drive, it was cast iron. If you wanted to, you could put a closed cooling system on it or a half closed cooling system on it, save the block, save the manifolds, and then just replace risers every once in a while. It was a little $1,500 upgrade you could do, and it would protect the engine, and you could run that motor with, antifreeze. And Was no big deal. Or if you wanted to run it for say 10, 15 years until the block got ate up from rust because of the salt, why just throw it away and you can get another one. Chevy 350s, 454s, 50s, they're cheap. They used to be cheap. Now they're even getting away from those. This is what I'm saying. Everything has moved to this disposable, over-engineered, cheap garbage that's just meant to constantly give you problems, so you spend money continually. The time frame of the life longevity of these things keeps getting shorter and shorter and shorter. So when people ask me, hey, what boat should I go buy? I said, don't buy a boat. Don't ever buy a boat. If you're seriously boating or you want to have a good boating, join a boat rental club and rent a boat and give it back when you're done using it, because you will never use that boat enough to justify the expense, the maintenance, and the brain damage it's going to give you, because they've over-engineered everything. People that own the boats can't even do the basic maintenance at home. You can't even get to the water pumps and the fuel filters that they put on these motors, because they're so far down in these holes that they give no space for it. It's a nightmare. So this leads into what I said before, is that newer is not always better, and that if you can buy an older version, say, of your car or of your boat, or if you want to buy an older version of your boat, do your research or call someone that knows boats and say, hey, what do you think about this? What are the problems? Look at this. I've told people that many times. You got a listing on Facebook, you want a boat, send me the listing first, and I'll tell you whether or not it's even worth looking at, because the prices on these things are so out of whack. It's ridiculous. You got people putting up boats that they want $7,500, $9,000, $10,000 that are worth $1,000, $1,500. Never been serviced, 25 years old, drive's never been pulled off, and they think they're just going to pass this over to somebody else and stick them with the problem and make big money off of screwing them. And that's what we have here in the United States now. It's a round robin of who can screw the next person, And you see this up there in the communist countries of the Northeast. And in Chicago, Illinois, and California, those people are being so screwed and having so much money stolen from them that there's not enough time in the month for them to pay their bills. So it's a mad dash to screw the next person. Yeah. And then they come down here because it used to be cheaper, and then you got to deal with that mentality down here, where I live. And I hated that. I hate dealing with those people from New York, New Jersey, because they're so used to being screwed that the first thing that they want to do is screw you, so that they don't get screwed. So it's like this, it's this mentality, this that we have in society now. And it's become completely dysfunctional. And that's why I try to stick with my honest tradesmen that I know. There's only very few. Because if you're dishonest, or I catch you lying, or I won't deal with you. I'll say, no thanks. I don't deal with dishonest people, because it's going to come back to bite you. You may think they're getting away with it now, but it's going to come back to bite them. And unfortunately, I'm going to have to seek a different profession, because this has been milked out. It's been phased out. Just like a lot of the secondhand car shops have having to close down and phase out because they can't keep up with the expense of the new software for all these cars. It's just not worth it. So I just wanted to touch briefly on that, like I said, that it seems like there's this major Stockholm syndrome with people, where they've fallen in love with all the people that are screwing them over, and yet they want to brace against and give the people that are actually honest and trying to help them the hard time. And that's why, kind of like I said, if you have a small business and you can't do it no more, or you were listed on eBay and you can't do it no more, or you used to help people, but you say, I'm not helping people no more, I get screwed. That's why it's become impossible to help anybody without basically losing money. And for some reason, people think that you got into this as a charity, like it's Habitat for Boating. Like I got a bunch of drunk homeless people that get together and throw boats together for free as like some kind of charity or something. No, this takes skill, this takes knowledge, this takes speed, efficiency, and nobody wants to pay for it. They think, you should be doing this stuff for me out of the kindness of your heart or free, and that's not how it works. It doesn't work anywhere else. But for some reason, when you go to a local tradesman, whether it be a welder, machine shop mechanic, boat mechanic, they should be there for you to give you a deal. And that's why you see a lot of guys that are good guys just giving up, saying, I can't, they're closing their doors, it's not affordable. Between everybody dipping into their pockets, trying to take rent, expenses, taxes, payroll, the list is endless. And it's amazing what some people gotta make every month just to turn the lights on. It's not worth it. So on that, if you're thinking of getting into a trade and starting into a business, I would personally say no, don't do it. but you may have a business that's already been established for a long time in the family, or someone you know, or you've been experienced for years, so it's easier for you to glide into maybe something like a lateral transfer. But if you're thinking of getting into a technical business with the cars or the boats, I wouldn't do it, because it's gotten so ridiculous, and the technology has become so absurd. That's all you're going to be doing. You're just going to be trying to hunt down stuff to replace constantly. And yeah, I just decided I don't want to do that at my age. But anyway, that's all I got for today. Thanks.